CA and EO performance evaluation. The module of the evaluation of a contractor's performance is a new function that aims to assess the performance of contractors in both contracts implemented and contracts under implementation. The module is integrated in the electronic procurement system and is accessible from the Contract Management menu. This video manual will provide instructions on activities performed by the CA and EO officials under the Performance Evaluation module. The contractor's performance evaluation in a contract is performed by the Contracting Authority, CA, respective its authorized officials. Said evaluation is sent to the EO and the latter may accept or deny it. Having concluded the implementation process, the contract manager is required to initiate the performance appraisal process. All contracts completed, terminated, or with terms exceeding 1 year are subject to performance evaluation. Upon entering the system, the contract manager views the Contract Management menu and selects the Monitor My Contracts submenu, which shall show all contracts under his/her management. Contracts to be subject to evaluation are clearly marked with the completed sign. We select the desired procedure and click on the Details button, which will reveal the window with all buttons with the exception of Contract Completion shaded, meaning this is the only active button as no additional information may be added in relation to contract conclusion. The same procedure would apply if the status of the procedure is terminated. In order to commence a performance evaluation process, the contract manager is required to go to the Contract Management menu and click on the Performance Evaluation submenu, which will show the list of performance evaluations, which will initiate the Performance Evaluation module. In the List of Performance Evaluations window, there are two buttons, Current and History, which show completed or terminated contracts, current, or the list of all contracts completed by the respective contract manager, history. Hence, the project manager may view only contracts that are under his/her privilege authority as defined by a higher administrative level. This window also provides insight on day indicators, measuring delays in performance, with 0 to 10 days noted in green, 11 to 20 days in yellow, and over 21 days in red. These indicators notify the contract manager on delays in evaluating the performance of his/her contracts. In the Current button are contracts for which performance evaluation can be initiated, and all contracts contain contract number, contract title, contracting authority, type of contract, contracting parties, EO group, RFP, value, date of inception, date of conclusion, days, and status of evaluation. Also, the button Evaluate, which changes if we hover the pointer above it. This contract has reached its completed status, and we will hence start with the evaluation of its performance by clicking on the Evaluate button. After clicking, the Evaluate a New Contract window appears, showing the economic operator, number of contract, and date and description of the evaluation. This window also shows evaluation questions, evaluation marks, and an explanation on the process. One needs to bear in mind that the explanation process will contain necessary information on the criteria of the basis of which each question shall be evaluated, graded. Initially, PPRC will establish criteria used for each evaluation and each contract category, depending on whether the contract covers works, services, or supplies. In the first question, quality, you can grade 1 to 5. click on NA if grading for this question is not applicable, while under Grades, there is the Information button that will help contract managers evaluate on criteria on which they possess the right information. The manager grades and places the relevant reasons for grades given. In the second question, Cost Control, the manager provides its grade and explanation. This window also provides the Information button on cost control criteria. Under the third question, Deadlines, the manager provides its grade and explanation. This window also provides the Information button on deadline criteria. In the fourth question, Management, the manager provides its grade and explanation. This window also provides the Information button on management criteria. Under the fifth question, Other, if the manager has no additional information to add, please select NA. At the end, having concluded responses to all questions, the manager clicks on Save. Afterwards, the system automatically returns to the Performance Evaluation main menu, namely to the Performance Evaluation list, and note that the status has changed to Evaluation and shows a number of buttons like Proceed, which sends it to the supervisor, Modify, if the manager needs to make any changes to the evaluation or delete the evaluation and restart a new one, and Information, which presents details on the performance evaluation, and details of the performance evaluation, which will show in percentages grades given and the passing of the 50% threshold. Close the window by clicking on X. You can also note the Work Process Evaluation, which will change depending on the performance evaluation process conducted for the contract. Close the window by clicking on X. Having completed the evaluation, the contract manager clicks on the Proceed button to open a new window that shows the contract processing and in which the contract manager can add documents like evaluation documents and finally add a short description before forwarding the evaluation to his/her supervisor. Upon completion of all information in this window, the contract manager clicks on Review and forwards it to the contract manager's supervisor for review. Upon processing, the manager is shown a window indicating the status has successfully changed and that the notice was successfully sent. After the contract manager has processed the contract evaluation, the button History will show the evaluated contract and all relevant notes, including evaluation date, performance indicators, and status review. If we click on the button in the beginning of the contract, the window Work Process Review will appear, and hence we note that the contract was submitted for review. You can also see the description made by the contract manager, evaluation date, insertion date, name of the evaluating manager, and all documents uploaded for review. Noteworthy: contract evaluation by the contract manager is always initially processed to his/her, the direct supervisor, and only later forwarded by the supervisor to the economic operator, meaning that the contract manager is unable to forward the evaluation directly to the EO. Close the window by clicking on X. After the contract manager has processed the contract for review, the contract manager's direct supervisor will receive a message to address the performance evaluation. The direct supervisor may henceforth proceed to the Contract Management menu and select the Performance Evaluations submenu and the List of Performance Evaluations window to view the contract currently evaluated by the contract manager marked with the Review status, also containing all details of the evaluation conducted by the contract manager. The workflow process can also be viewed and downloaded, as may be the documents uploaded by the contract manager as accompanying arguments used in the contract evaluation process. Close the window by clicking on X. The direct supervisor, upon receiving the appropriate information on the contract assessment, may click on the Proceed button, which will open the window showing the processing date and description made by the supervisor, while providing the option for uploading accompanying documents. Therefore, the supervisor is offered two options: to approve the evaluation or resubmit for re-evaluation. Here is a demonstration of supervisor's actions when the evaluations are resubmitted for re-evaluation by the contract manager. After the supervisor has resubmitted the contract for re-evaluation, the history will show a change of status and the process sent back to contract evaluation. If the contract is sent back for re-evaluation, the contract manager will receive a respective message. The contract manager clicks on the Contract Management button and then the Performance Evaluation submenu, where under the Current button, the contract appears with a changed status. Notably, the button showing the workflow process review also shows the description made by the supervisor. Close the window by clicking on X. The contract manager is required to click on the Modify button, which will show the Modify Existing Contract Evaluation window, in which the contract manager performs all necessary amendments as remarked by the supervisor. After the performance of these changes by the contract manager, the Details button shows the Contract Evaluation Details window, which depicts a change of the performance indicators and improved performance. Close the window by clicking on X. The contract manager reprocesses the contract and forwards it to the supervisor, and the window shows the date, description on reprocessing, and possibility of uploading additional documents. Then the contract manager clicks on the Review button to open a window that shows changed statuses. So, if we click on the button that shows the workflow process evaluations, we note that the status has changed again from under Evaluation to Review. After the contract manager returns to the contract for review, the direct supervisor receives a message to address a performance evaluation request. The direct supervisor enters the Contract Management menu, respective the Performance Evaluation subfolder, and under the Current, views contracts resubmitted by the contract manager, while under the Details button, he can view changes made by the contract manager in the Performance Indicators section. Close the window by clicking on X. Changes in the evaluation are also visible in the changed status of the Workflow Process Evaluation. Close the window by clicking on X. The direct supervisor of the contract manager clicks on the Proceed button and is offered two options. If the supervisor is unhappy with the evaluation, he/she may resubmit the contract for evaluation. While if he agrees with the evaluation, he/she may click the Approve button after having completed all data required in this window. If the Workflow Process Evaluation button is pushed, it is notable that the status has changed from Review to Approved. After the direct supervisor has approved the evaluation of the contract manager receives a message. And if he/she enters the Contract Management menu and the Performance Evaluation in the window showing the List of Performance Evaluations under the Current button, he/she will note that the status has changed to Approved, and the Contract Manager becomes aware that the evaluation was submitted to the other contracting party, namely the economic operator. After the direct supervisor approves the evaluation made by the contract manager, the OE manager will have received a message to address a performance evaluation matter. The OE manager enters the Contract Management menu and the Performance Evaluation in the window showing the List of Performance Evaluations of the EO. He/she will note the Details button, which contract evaluation details and relevant performance indicators as evaluated by the contract manager. Of note, the EO cannot amend the evaluation made by the CA's contract manager. Close the window by clicking on X. After the EO manager obtains all information required for the evaluation, he/she may click on the Proceed button to open a window with two options: agree or disagree with the evaluation. After the EO manager has completed all data required and uploaded the documents arguing any disagreement with the evaluation, he/she is able to select the disagreement option by clicking on Reject. Which will lead to a window with changed statuses. The contract is now awarded the Reviewed by EO status, and the Workflow Process Evaluation status changes from Approved to Reviewed by the EO, while also presenting other notes and documents uploaded by the EO manager. In case the contract performance evaluation is rejected by the EO manager, the direct supervisor receives a message to address the performance evaluation. The direct supervisor enters the Contract Management menu, respectively the Performance Evaluation subfolder, and under the Current, views the Review by the EO status. And if he/she clicks on the button showing the Workflow Process for Evaluation, it is visible that the status has changed from Approved to Review by EO. The supervisor may also view other information and documents of EO on any incompliance. Close the window by clicking on X. After the supervisor has obtained all necessary information on OE manager's alleged incompliance and is convinced that the evaluation was not appropriately conducted, he may click on the Proceed button and if there are certain tasks that need to be performed by the contract manager, he/she is able to send the contract back to the contract manager by completing all data required in the window and clicking on the Evaluation button. After the direct supervisor has resubmitted the contract for reevaluation, the contract manager receives a message and is able to visit the contract management menu. And then in the performance evaluation submenu, show the List of Performance Evaluations window, and under the Current button, see the contract sent back to the Evaluate status. The contract manager makes the necessary change under the Modify button and remedies all performance evaluation flaws. Further, he/she clicks on the Proceed button to show the window presenting the evaluation date, description, and other documents necessary for the reevaluation process. And proceeds by clicking on the Review button. After the contract manager has reevaluated the performance, the direct supervisor receives a message to address performance evaluation. The supervisor goes to the contract management menu and then in the performance evaluation submenu, notices that the status has changed from evaluation to review, as well as the communication of all three parties included in the performance evaluation exercise. Close the window by clicking on X. Through the Details button, the direct supervisor sees all changes made by the contract manager, as well as the documents supporting reevaluation, while through the Proceed button, he/she may display the window in which the supervisor places the processing date, reevaluation description, and any other documents relevant to the reevaluation. To send this reevaluation to the EO manager, the supervisor clicks on Approve. After the direct supervisor approves the reevaluation made by the contract manager, the EO manager will have received a message related to the performance. The EO enters the contract management menu and under the Evaluation Performance submenu, displays the List of Performance Evaluations of the EO, in which one may note the approved status and may view additional details on the contract evaluation by clicking on the Details button. Close the window by clicking on X. The EO manager clicks on Proceed to display the window in which the EO manager places the date of second processing, description of the process, and uploads documents, if any. Therefore, the EO manager is again able to reject the contract evaluation or to accept it. In the event that the EO manager agrees with the performance evaluation, he/she accepts it by clicking on the Accept button. Of note, the EO manager is only able to return the evaluation twice for re-examination, while after the second time, the evaluation is considered final. After the EO manager accepts the performance evaluation, the status will change to Published. After the EO manager accepts the performance evaluation, the contract manager will receive a message related to the performance evaluation process. The contract manager clicks on the Contract Management button, and then in the submenu on Performance Evaluation and the History button shows the contract as published. A click on the button presenting the evaluation workflow provides a view of all communications performed by all three parties involved in the performance evaluation process. How is the EO performance evaluation reflected on by the Bid Assessment Committee? Each member of the assessment committee appointed in a procurement procedure is able to see past performance of any EO bidding in the procedure. After entering the system, the assessment committee member enters the Procurement Procedures menu and the My Procedures submenu, selects the procedure for which he/she is appointed in the assessment committee, and clicks on the Bidder's Past Performance button. This displays the Contractors List window, and through the Contractor List, the member of the assessment committee can view the performance of each EO bidding for the contract, selects any relevant economic operators, and is able to see their performance in previous contracts. By clicking on the Details button, they are able to view in detail the performance evaluation made by the contract manager.